Suppose. I know we haven't done a full write-up post in some time, but my price check autism is kicking in with the flood of thoughts posts. So here we go. In the spring of 1775, the Continental Congress had chosen their candidate to lead the newly formed Continental Army. The charismatic genius had led men to battle before, was well known to be a brilliant tactician, and had a knack for finding victories when all else was lost. No, not Washington. He got picked because he was a Virginian, and less power hungry than insert any asshole from the French and Indian Wars here. I'm talking about Nathaniel fucking Greene. Don't know him? Fuck you, you will. Greene, who would have been commander of the new armies, but he was 33 and from Connecticut, so that was a no-go. Not only did he correctly convince George Washington that New York was indefensible, resulting in the much-needed retreat that would later lead to victories in Trenton, but Greene also took over for the stumbling Horatio Gates in the South. Greene kicked the shit out of the Reds by stretching their supply lines across South and North Carolina. Two-state tactical retreat, no problem for Nathaniel fucking Greene. He took an inferior, smaller force and harassed the living shit out of the British by losing battles at the cost of killing limey redcoat bastards. After several victories in the South, the redcoats basically just gave up and said, fuck this, winning sucks when we all keep dying. Even Alexander Hamilton had a mental wank at Greene's tactical genius. Without Greene fixing Gates's fuck-up in the South, the Revolutionary War ends with Washington getting pincered by two armies. Now, Greene wasn't the first choice for commander of badassery, but he sure as shit earned it for being the right guy for the right situation. Much like one of the best summoner support builds available right now. How's that for a transition? No, and I'm not talking about Skellies, by the way. Wappinator claimed that when we decided to start a summon group. And not Gollum-mancer. Great King David dibs that one. Well, fuck. I'm not doing druid summons because I've had sex and don't own a fursuit. I guess it had to be Amazon. Summoner Amazon. Well, it's the right thing for the right situation if it means I didn't have to play druid, and that's all that's left. So let's try it out. The initial thought with this build was to support and buff both the summoners with my new rune word Zenith, however that sucked. Luckily the Amazon got a nice buff to Decoy in that it works like Demon Hunter sentries from the game we won't name. The synergies line up nicely with Decoy and Volks buffing each other, and Decoy here is further buffed by Strafe, making that our optimal choice for our own damage. Don't fret about Pierce, because we're going to be using passive skillers. Max out all three, get your critical strike to a point where it's acceptable, and dump your points into something of your choosing after that. Strength for all of your gear, obviously. Dump the rest into Dex, because nothing's really going to be hitting us with this build anyway. With Strafe, you don't need IAS using an upped Demon Machine, which is great news. It also has Reanimate on it for more minions. If you have a Faith, you can go, full support build and, kind of buff your allies, but if you have the Skrilla for a Faith, just dump it on the Merc and use the Demon Machine yourself. So any rare bolts you can find, I'll show you what I have, at least on the actual PD2 outside of Pluggy in a second. Anything that adds damage is going to be awesome for you, so you're going to go with a Fortitude, 4 Travs, probably an Iraq just for the skills and a little faster cast. We don't need IAS, so you can roll with Soul Drainers for the physical resistance, and you can get an Atmas for that amplified damage when your Necromancer buddies are not online. Valkwing for everything on it, and you're basically good to go. Any rings will work. You can get rid of the Raven if you can find Cannot Be Frozen. You do need a little bit of Leech with this build, and you're going to be hurting for mana, so even the new Manald will probably do you some good. Passive skillers for the charms, so we can buff our minions. After all, we are mainly a summoner, and that's basically it. Now, wait, lawsuit, some dick says. This sounds fairly expensive, and this is kind of hypocritical of you, seeing as you became a thing by making swear-laden guides on a budget. And now you've gone full YouTuber and made some pluggy build out of crap most of us can't afford. Well, you're correct, random strawman invention I'm using to make my argument. I'm going to call you Ward, because that's the kind of douchey name I expect my critics to have. So don't worry, Ward, you dickbag, because this build works on the cheap too. We found an upped 5-socket Demon Machine for an Ist. The skillers will go for a Worldstone Shard if you wait long enough. And since I'm busy at work this season and I was sick, I'm poor as fuck and can't even build my own pluggy-made build in-game. So instead, for a grand total of 6 Worldstone Shards, I bought the Disciple set. And guess what? It still works damn well, because for some reason a set that gives Cannot Be Frozen, 3 to all skills, 65 to res, 900 poison damage over 2 seconds, and 300% plus damage to demons and undead gets overlooked as a budget option. I might just P-box this shit once I get out of debt to Wapinator and use 40-15 maxes in the armor. So that is a grand total of 0.15 for the weapon, 0.06 for gear, 0.09 for skillers, and 0.05 for a bad torch. That is 0.35 high runes, so a Vex will buy you a Boazon with change that effectively can't die, works in groups, and clears maps fairly fast. So, playstyle. I'm not sure what the hell you expect here. Summon your Valks, pop some decoys with right click, spam your strafe with left click. Shit dies and the Moron monsters slap away the decoys, which die in about 15 seconds anyway. Add some summoner buddies for the full-on lag fest of 3 armies strolling across the battlefield with no intention of using Nathaniel fucking Green's hit-and-run tactics, but instead going full Sherman on Atlanta. See you guys later.